Welcome to Pagan Crafting. Today I wanted to share a creation of a magical bee wand, a handcrafted piece inspired by bees, abundance, creativity, community, and the golden energy of the sun. This wand began with a piece of driftwood found along the edge of the lake, weathered by water, shaped by nature, and already carrying its own story and energy. From there, I slowly transformed the driftwood into a symbolic bee wand using textures, crystals, flowers, honeycomb imagery, and the golden accents to create something that feels both earthy and magical. As I craft, I also wanted to talk about the symbolism within the wand, the energy of the bees, and the magical practice in different ways so you can actually use a wand like this in your own spiritual and creative work. Here are some examples that I've created before with doweling, and some of them will have crystals and citrine on it. I'll show you how I made these little bees and how we handcrafted everything here. Here's one more example I used with some sunflowers as well. A little citrine for the top. And I have some baby wands I might decorate up too. So there's some extra little ones. I may have some bees as well. So the driftwood foundation. The base of the wand is driftwood found by the edge of the lake water. Driftwood carries a unique symbolism because it has already journeyed through the elements. It's journeyed through water. It's been smoothed by wind, water, the earth, and by sunlight. It is softened, shaped, and transformed naturally over time. I think the driftwood makes something very powerful magic tools because it already feels ancient and alive with all the elements intertwined. When gathering natural objects for magical crafting, I always recommend doing something respectfully and mindfully, almost like receiving a gift from land rather than simply just going out and taking something. So we're going to create layers on our wand through glue. Now, while I just put on a few layers of thick glue, we're going to let that cool down. And I'm going to cut out some honeycomb out of this lovely ribbon that I've been using for just about 2 years. I think I've been using this one with you. And I've used it for so many different things, from like pendants to signs, to decorations, to jars, you name it. And now this is going to be going on my wand. So when creating the honeycomb or the dripping honey effect, I am creating more of a honey hive on top with the dripping honey, and then having the honeycomb cells coming down the edge. I'm going to be wrapping it with ribbon and with chain. One of my favorite parts of this wand is the honeycomb and the dripping honey texture created along the handle. The hive itself that I'm working on here symbolizes sacred creation, structure, manifestation, collective wisdom, protection of sacred space, and of course, productivity. As the dripping honey adds the energy of sweetness, attraction, abundance, and flowing energy, honey has been long associated with prosperity, healing, offerings, attraction, magic, and more. With this solar energy and sacred nourishment, as I build up this texture into the wand, it almost feels like I'm layering intention directly into the piece itself. Now we're going to add the honeycomb. I'm just using some Mod Podge here is to help adhere it onto the wand. If you could also paint this on, if you have any stencils, you could use this as a stencil as well. That would be something that would be gorgeous as well. So just placing this in different parts along the handle, not too high up because I'm going to be doing the dripping honey as part of my handle. Using a Mod Podge, you could use a Kai gloss or a flat, which I'm using with the orange label. I'm using the flat finish. Now, different things you could add to your wand. You could add the citrine, tiger's eye, yellow adventurine, yellow garnet, anything that is solar or fire powered up that represents that type of spring, early summer energy coming in. You could use copper and intertwine it around, and copper is a conductor, so it will help charge up your wand. Now what I'm using here is a super hot glue gun, a larger one, to do the drips of the honey. And for the honey hive, the beehive, I was using an inexpensive dollar store one, a small one that has a lot cooler, it's not as hot, and it creates a thinner lines when doing details and using your hot glue to make all kinds of fun lines and stuff. You definitely want like a hotter glue gun for the dripping of the honey and the cooler for the hive. So as that's cooling down, let's jump into the next step here. I'm going to be doing first layer of a gorgeous rich sunflower yellow. And after we have all that done, I'm going to be doing a couple layers of dry brushing. So while that is drying, I'm going to paint the hive. I have a mixture of both the yellow and the gold, whatever lays down, because I'm going to be adding some mica powder on that next. So I'm going right for a gold. And I have a color changing, color shift, folk art paint that I like to use. And you could also dry brush some gold on the tips of your honey as well. But I'm going to do a whole nother coat with the color shift because it just looks so tasty. It looks awesome. It gives it another little layer, another little effect to it. And I'm going to add a little bit on the honeycombs as well. It's just pulling out some shimmery on it, so I'm going to hit all that all the way down the stem of the wand or the driftwood. And give it all a little sparkle. That looks really cute. Okay, letting that dry. Now that that's dry, we're going to grab out some mica powder. I have gold and yellow. I think I'm just going to use the gold. I was thinking the yellow for the honey and the gold for that, but I think I might use gold on both. I'll have a look here. Put a little on my finger and just rubbing it on the edge and giving that extra little glisten that we can work with. Just takes that little step up and it looks so sparkly beautiful. Look at that. Is that ever nice? So I'm going to go with the darker yellow instead on the tips of the honey bumps. Looks like I'm going to go to paint. Yeah, I need a little bit more. It's not as dark as I liked it to be. So let's do a little bit of a dry brush. With our two examples of our bees here, we're going to make some bees, some little wings first, and then we're going to make the bees. And I love the bees because they represent so many wonderful things, because bees, to use in a magical wand, can actually be used within a spiritual practice. It's one beautiful use for manifestation rituals. You can hold the wand while visualizing your goals or slowly direct your intention towards a movement and focus. Because bees symbolize productivity and creation, this wand works really, really, really well. It'll work for abundance. It'll work for creative inspiration, business success, confidence work, motivation, attracting opportunities. Now these little pieces of glue, you'll have a nice little teardrop shape because you made a blob and then you pulled it with your little hot glue gun. If not, you can trim it with scissors and make a little point, and that's going to be your wings. So you put a little blob, pull, blob, pull a line, and create a little teardrop shape. Now I'm using wax paper. You can use parchment paper as well. Let that cool down and pop those off later, and we're going to rock those for our wings. So we're going to go back to our cool hot gun, our glue gun with the coolest temperature, because you want the blob of the little bee body, the little bean, to sit in one spot. You don't want it to drip like the hot temperature the big one will do. So make a little bean shape first. Just gonna add to my bean. So you want it raised. There's your bean. And then you're gonna grab a wing with point down. There we go. And that will go into one side of the little bee body. Flip that around, and then you can position the wings how you'd like. If you want them sticking up a little bit, or up, pointed up higher, or flat. But don't push them in too far. They will adhere and stay on. So let's try this again. We're going to make a little bean. And then we're going to add the wings. So again, point down first. Now, one thing I really love about bee symbolism is that it reminds us that meaningful things are built slowly. The hive is not created instantly. Honey is not created instantly. It takes practice, patience, consistency, collaboration. You got to trust the process. I think of that a beautiful lesson, spiritual and creativity with the natural of the hive and the honey. This one can become a reminder too to trust your growth, to keep creating, to stay connected to your goals, move steadily towards abundance, honor both hard work and sweetness. Bees feel both productive and deeply nurturing at the same time. The nature of the bee energy is such a wonderful, wonderful hive energy to work with. So now that we've added our little bees, we're going to be adding some other goodies next. So heading on to ribbon, again using yellow for ribbon, for happiness, for success, for growth, for summertime, for fire and solar energy. So I'm just going to tuck that in there, and I'm going to weave that through and around all my little, I guess, little hive hexagon little pieces there. And I'm going to hide this little glue edge with a flower in a little bit as well. So just adding a little bit of glue as I go, wrapping it ever so slightly. And I'm just taking my time, throwing in intention, throwing in what I like to do with this as I'm going down the stem of my wand. Thinking about all the wonderful uses and things that I'll be able to do with this piece. As an art witch, you must always think your energy no different than casting a spell and creating a spell. You are making your own magical working tool. Now that that's complete, I'm feeling I might add some flowers. I feel I need some little flowers in there. Now the white flowers and the golden details of the little hive pieces, the added white flowers to the wand symbolizes purity, spirit, peace, devotion, and sacred beauty. Flowers also connect the wand back to the relationship between bees and blooming life. Without flowers, there are no bees. Without bees, much of nature itself struggles to thrive. So the flowers almost represent the sacred partnership between creation and nature. The yellow ribbon winding down the shaft adds solar energy, joy, confidence, and vitality. I will be adding a gold chain to this, and this it brings a feeling of sacred adornment, almost like a jewelry for the wand itself. These details will help the wand feel ceremonial and alive. Adding little stems, leaves, flowers. Run around your house and find anything yellow, gold, or solar. Looking up things, just grab things and see what you have. Maybe some old chains from a necklace. Maybe some little flowers that you don't use off an old wreath, that you love the symbolism of the colors. Make it your own. Make it with memories. This energy will help empower and power up your sacred ceremonial wand. Adding some chain here, just some craft chain. I thought it would add a little bit more of an adornment, a little bit of extra love. I have the copper wire there I was thinking of using too, but then I found my chain. So again, have fun. Cruise around the house, see what you could see. Might change your mind. You might be inspired by something new. Take apart old things, make it over again. You recycle, reuse, rediscover. There we be. I think that was a nice finish to this wand for sure. Not what I was expecting on doing, but it worked out quite nicely. Okay, now on to the next thing. So far we have our bees, we have our flower, we have our first paint job. We need to add some crystals and we need to paint those bees next. So let's start off with a little yellow one for the bodies. Super easy, dab it on thick, or else you're going to be doing 3 or 4 layers. So this way you're only going to have to do 2 layers, but make it thick. Let it dry out, and then we add our little black strips for his body. Now I'm just doing the one. They're kind of like Winnie the Pooh bees, to be honest. They're just those little flying beans. Let's just call them flying pandas. That's what they are. Oh, yesterday I saw my first bee fly into the house. So excited. First one of the season. It is May, and I saw it May 9th, 2026. So excited. They are woken up and ready to enjoy my garden, looking for my goodies that I usually have. Soon, my friends, soon. So next we got the little bee stripe. We're just adding one little stripe for the bean. And continue on. And we're going to be adding white to the little wings as well. But just take your time, get in the little edges. Now I got a little bit of paint on the wings, so I just use a dry brush, and it was so easy to wipe that off. And the white wings, I will paint the bottom and the top. I'm just punching those out with just some little tips, and we're going to add some little sparkle to that later too. I think I add some silver mica powder to the wings just on the tip of that. So let's add some either metallic, or you can go with some pearl mica powder, and that's what I'm going to go with. And I'm going to brush this on the little bit of the wings. And you could use a dry brush of the metallic paints, or you could use a mica powder, whichever you'd like, or none at all. Just gives it a little bit extra. And then whatever you got left on your fingers, I was throwing some on the flower too. Everything else is shined out. Might as well give that a little love as well. Oh, they're going to be so cute. There. Just what it needed. Blow off the excess. And again, you can Mod Podge this all when you're done. So that way you won't get future mica powder all over your stuff in your altar and your clothes. But if you don't mind having a little sparkle on you, don't bother. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to Mod Podge mine up. I'm going to just enjoy getting it all over future use. Mod Podge, citrine, tiger's eye. We're going to add some crystals to the hive. These little rock chips around the hive section are really fun to use. This gives a little bit of a boost if you have crystal rock chips, or if you want to glue a crystal citrine at the top of the hive like I did in some of the examples I showed you previously. Citrine is often connected to abundance, joy, manifestation, confidence, creativity, and solar energy. It has such a warm, uplifting energy, and it feels incredibly fitting for a bee-themed magical tool. Now the tiger's eye, that brings grounding, courage, focus, confidence, personal power, and of course, protection. Together, these crystals create a balance between manifestation, stability, and the dream energy paired with a grounding action. And visually, their golden tones often resemble honey and sunlight beautifully. I absolutely love creating this magical bee wand and slowly layering intention, symbolism, texture, crystals, and natural materials into the piece. I think handmade magical tools often carry a special energy because they become infused with time, focus, and emotion poured into them during creation. I love to hear what symbols and magical elements you would include in your own wand creation. If you enjoyed crafting with me today, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me here on Pagan Crafting for more witchy creativity, magical inspiration, and seasonal crafting ideas. Until next time, stay creative and stay magical.